Hey, Thomas from Field Tennis. Today we're talking about the third fundamental of tennis strokes, since we started from the ground up. So the first one was balance, the second one was hip rotation, and today we're talking about shoulder rotation. So what does it mean that it's fundamental to all strokes? It means it's always present regardless of the style of your stroke. So you can have a forehand style like this, preparation, or like this, or you can have the face down, or you can have on the edge, you can have a continental grip. But in all these cases, whatever forehand style you have of the backswing or of the follow through, the shoulder rotation should be there. If we want the stroke to work, the shoulder rotation is there, even if you have a continental grip and you go down like this and you hit like this. If there is shoulder rotation present when you're hitting the ball, you're going to have good power and control. So the same applies to backhand, and I will show you now how do the strokes look like when the shoulder rotation is not there. So I'll try to demonstrate the strokes wrong, and maybe some of them you will recognize that you see in others or sometimes even in yourself. So let's say a forehand without shoulder rotation typically looks something like this. One of the most obvious signals, or the way we diagnose, is that the left arm collapses. So for right-handers, the arm will just collapse and the player is going to hit the ball, and they will engage the right arm all the time, and this one they don't feel. So that means that this shoulder is not connected to the right shoulders, they're not connected, and they don't rotate. So if the shoulder is connected, then the player will rotate through contact. So again, regardless of the style of the stroke or of the grip. Here's an example of a one-handed backhand without shoulder rotation. So I will try to show how it looks like. So the player will kind of hit like this and really try to stay sideways. Maybe they've been told a lot to stay sideways, so they position and then they're like this. But one-handed backhand should also have some shoulder rotation. So the shoulders begin and then they stop. So they go and then they stop. So that's how we get power and control. Here's an example of a two-handed backhand without shoulder rotation. So I'll try and hit the ball like that. So it typically looks something like this. So this shoulder wants to go forward and this one is not rotating. So the player is kind of playing with the left hand. So it looks something like this. And a backhand with shoulder rotation should look something like this. So the player positions and then they rotate through contact. We can also mention a backhand slice. Oftentimes there is a lack of shoulder rotation. The player is too focused on how to move their arm or how to slice the ball and so on. So they forget about the body or they don't feel it. So I will try to demonstrate how a slice looks like something like this. So the player is kind of very stiff and they're just trying to chop the ball and they're not moving, but there should be shoulder rotation also on backhand slice. So yes, we stay sideways, but before that the shoulders go and they provide power and stability to the stroke. So how can we help the player feel shoulder rotation for all these four strokes? So forehand, one-handed backhand, two-handed backhand, and backhand slice. So what I like to do first is that the player feels my force, and I will demonstrate to them in correct and correct way. So if I want to correct Peter here, I'm going to take the racket and I'm going to ask Peter to give me a specific resistance. So if we start with the forehand, I want Peter to resist me here. And if I'm not doing shoulder rotation, then I am able to hit a forehand without my left arm. So I don't need my left arm and I can hit like this. So I demonstrate to the player, look, there is no force. When I do the forehand right and I do shoulder rotation, then basically he will feel a lot of force going that way. So my left arm, when my left arm and left shoulder is connected to the right shoulder firmly through the chest and the shoulders, then I can only hit a forehand if I can move this arm left. So if I ask Peter to stop me so that I can't rotate now, I am unable to hit a forehand. So the player should feel that they are completely unable to feel. So I go from my core, I try to rotate, and I am unable to go. So the player should not say I can hit a forehand like that, because it's completely incorrect forehand. It has no shoulder rotation, no stability. So if you release me now a bit, that you feel, so I give the player the sensation of force, that they realize, oh, there's such a strong force going this way, and how do I create this force? Well, I rotate my shoulders. So they are very firm together through the chest and shoulders. I firm up and I rotate. So now,
Yes.
Peter. Yeah, so now I provide resistance here and you try to hit a forehand. Yes. Yes. So the coach must find the right amount of resistance so that you resist them a bit, but that the player feels that they have to push you away. And you can repeat this for a few times, for 10-15 seconds. Yes, and you can also try that. Let's say I stop him, so I don't let him go. So yes, you should not be able to swing. No, you must not swing. So if I stop you, don't swing. You try push me, okay, and there's no forehand. So you should feel no forehand. So only if I let you go, I resist and I let you go, yes, forehand can come. All right. So for one-handed backhand, two-handed backhand, and backhand slice, we provide the resistance in the same way. So again, I would like first the player to resist. So resistance is here on this shoulder. So I want to show them how does the stroke feel when it's done wrong. So let's say two-handed backhand without shoulder rotation feels like this. So not much force, because the player will tend to go forward here, and with shoulder rotation I will push him away. So I want the player to feel the force. So similarly, yes, or with this arm, let's say one-handed backhand without shoulder rotation feels like this, and with shoulder rotation, you see, it's so strong, it feels like this. So you must be just careful that the player doesn't think on one-handed backhand that rotation is like this, that we face with the chest. So it's just this much, so it's like this much, and then it stops, because then we do stay sideways. And backhand slice,
Very strong.
yes, and backhand slice, no shoulder rotation, is like this, so the player is just chopping and their shoulders are just like this all the time. And with shoulder rotation, of course there is less shoulder rotation than on the forehand, but it's here, like this part. So you always begin with shoulders and then we go. So now Peter plays a one-handed backhand, so I will not torture him with a two-handed. Okay, so for one-handed backhand, I will provide resistance here. Yes, and you try to push me. That's right. Yes, from the ground, from the hips a little bit. That's right. Yes. So that's how we help the player feel the shoulder rotation. Yes. So why is the shoulder rotation so important for tennis strokes? There are two reasons. One is source of power and one is source of stability. So when it comes to power, we can generate power with arm muscles. So I'll hit a ball without shoulder rotation, so I have to use my arm muscles, which will tend to work a lot compared to hitting with the shoulder rotation. When I hit with shoulder rotation and I rotate, I'm going to use mostly core muscles, which are way stronger than the arm muscles, or way bigger. So they are generating power much easier, and you can generate this power for a long time throughout the whole match, because to the core muscles to turn me like this is not a lot of effort, and yet I get good speed of the ball. If you're using your arm to generate force, your arm will tire soon, and when it tires, it's going to become even more tense. So the first problem is that when you're hitting with the arm, you're creating tension, and tension is not the right way to play tennis. We need a certain relaxation, we need a certain swing to hit the ball effortlessly. So this is the wrong way in the long term. And the second one is your arm will get very tired, and at the end you'll become very weak and you just play the balls short. So it's much better to engage the body, the core, so in the shoulder axis. So when the ball comes, you're simply rotating through, so regardless of the stance, open stance or neutral stance, you rotate through and you're hitting more from the body. The second reason why shoulder rotation and overall the whole body rotation is so important for the stroke is because it provides stability to the stroke. And the way it provides stability to the stroke, meaning to the racket face, is because when we hit with the arm and we engage a lot of arm muscles, we are constantly changing racket angle. We are going to engage the muscles and we're going to move the joints, so we have 3 joints. And when you're hitting with the arm, you're engaging the muscles in the arm, and joints are going to start moving, and the racket is going to change angle while you're hitting, and you will find it very difficult to control the ball. But when we're hitting from shoulder rotation, we're going to feel the power coming from the body, and you will feel no more need to engage the arm so much. And therefore the arm comes to the contact in a much calmer way. So you just position your hand and then you rotate through contact, and you're going to have a much more stable racket face without much variation, because you are not engaging arm muscles to hit the ball, and it's the arm muscles that change the racket angle. So when the ball is coming, I am more just positioning the racket face behind the ball. I do the swing and then I rotate, and my racket face is very calm through contact, and that's how I hit very consistently. So same principles apply to all strokes on the backhand side. So when we don't provide power behind the stroke through the hips and through the shoulder, then you will feel a lack of power and you will need to hit with the arm. So you players do all sorts of funny things on the backhand side. So backhand can look something like this. So they want to hit with the arm and they're engaging and somehow their body is not going. But when you put the body behind and you go with a bit of shoulder rotation, then the backhand becomes very simple, very steady, and that's how you get control over the ball. So it means you have to begin with the shoulders and then you control them, and you get power and control at the same time. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson on the shoulder rotation. Today we covered just one major way or one method of how we can help the player feel the shoulder rotation. But in the next video we're going to go a bit deeper into the forehand shoulder rotation and various drills how we can help the player feel the importance of the left arm, of the non-dominant arm, because so many times we see this collapsing left arm on the players. So I will show you quite a few drills how we can help the player feel the importance of the left arm and shoulder rotation through contact. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.